What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Until Jacksonville podcast. My name is Andrew Mayne. I'm here to be your host today. Just me solo again. Got boys doing big things behind the scenes and not available, but we can't just not talk about football because other people are busy. We got to keep pushing through. So much football to talk about. Last week, I was super excited to do this because I was 6-0 on my picks. I talked about 6 football games, and I was 6-0. This week was not so good. I picked Oklahoma correct. I picked Nebraska, which was wrong. I picked Miami, which was correct. I picked Utah, which was wrong. I picked Missouri, which was right. And then I picked Illinois, which was wrong. So I went 3-3. So right at 500. When you're talking about games and you're picking games, you either want to be really good or really bad, because people know if they did want to bet off of what you're saying, that to either ride with what you're saying or to vote to bet against you. And in this situation, going 500 doesn't tell you anything. So maybe you're like, never mind, I don't want to listen to Andrew. I mean, if you decide to bet, that's all on you. Anyway, I will move past all the sports betting talk because we're here to talk about actual football that is played on the field. First game up we're going to talk about is the Oklahoma Auburn game. Now, this game is hard to talk about without talking about how bad referees can be sometimes. It wasn't so much of the, they just got called for holding a lot or whatever else. I mean, there were probably 3 or 4 very big key moments in this game that were 50-50 or okay, that should go against Oklahoma or that should go in Auburn's favor, and they all seem to go in Oklahoma's favor. There was one where they basically had a guy pretending like he was getting subbed out and actually he's right on the edge of the sideline. They snap the ball. He's wide up the sideline for a touchdown. And according to the SEC office yesterday, they said that it was, in fact, should not have been a touchdown. That was a penalty and all this stuff. And whenever they do that, it's always weird because there's nothing that anyone's going to do to fix it or resolve it. They're not going to give Auburn a win automatically. They're not going to pay money to the University of Auburn or to Hugh Freeze, whose job security is on the line when it comes to winning games like this. And they're just going to lay down and go, oh, yep, we were wrong. My bad. I mean, that's horrible in my opinion, but there were several big instances similar to that where you just felt like Auburn got killed in this situation. Still feel like it wasn't really one of those games where it felt like one team was dominating the other, though. It felt very back and forth. I mean, even the penalty yardage ended up being about the same. Passing yards ended up being about the same. Rushing yards, total yards, all kind of just right about the same. No team really had a huge advantage. This game, neither team was really able to run the ball consistently. Auburn averaged 1.9 yards a carry. For Oklahoma, it was only 1.2. So really tough day running the ball here. And Jackson Arnold did finally turn the football over. In this football game, it was very competitive, very good SEC game to watch. Honestly, my 2 takeaways with this, my biggest takeaway really is that both these teams are pretty good, but also neither of these teams are, wow, holy cow, that team is elite. There's nothing anyone's going to be able to do to stop them. So they're both those types of teams, in my opinion, that can beat anyone any given Saturday, but also feels beatable at the same time. I was very much right thinking that Auburn was going to struggle in offense with the RPO system against Brent Venables. I just didn't trust that matchup there for Auburn, and that seemed to be true throughout that game. But I think the craziest thing to me is just how similar all the stats are in this game. Even third down efficiency was 3 for 15 for Auburn. Oklahoma was 3 for 12. First downs, 18 for Auburn, 16 for Oklahoma. Very tight matchup, very fun game to watch. I picked Oklahoma to win, that home field advantage. Brent Venables as a defensive mind, I thought that would be the difference maker. And in this game, it was. I was surprised just how badly both teams looked running the ball, though. Both those teams need to figure it out as they continue to enter SEC play, but these also could just be 2 great defenses. It's still hard to tell. Sometimes it's somewhat early in the year. Some of these you're not sure if an offensive line is bad or if a defensive line is really good. But in that situation, I mean, they sacked Jackson Arnold, I believe, 10 times or 7 times or something ridiculous. I think it was 10. I want to say it was 10. His return to Norman, Oklahoma did not go as planned for him. For anyone who doesn't know, he went there as a true freshman, was the backup, started for a good chunk of last year, got benched at one point, just didn't do great, and then they didn't want him anymore, and he went to Auburn. and he had a rough day back in Norman. So I was wrong on that one. Actually, no, correction. I was right on that game, but that wasn't really a game that I had a super hard lean on either way. Ended up really feeling like it could have been either way. If it wasn't for a couple wild plays near the end, I mean, it could have ended either way in this. For Michigan going to Nebraska, I was pretty wrong on this. Now, Michigan only won by 3 points, but this is one of those games where when you watch the game and then you look at the final score, you think, how did that happen? Because honestly, it felt like Michigan should have won by 3 touchdowns. Nebraska had a great Hail Mary towards the end of the first half, and that really helped them. Other than that, it's like they just got a lot of yardage, but didn't do a ton in punching it in. They were able to get a few touchdowns out of it. Beginning of the game, I felt like it was a horrible decision by them. They had a 4th and 2, went for it, didn't get it in very close field goal range. Right after that, they had another drive because of a turnover, and that resulted in a missed field goal. So really, you look at it on paper and you think, man, Nebraska actually had a chance to win this game. But throughout it just felt like Michigan was in control. And even towards the end, you could tell Michigan was kind of playing as a, hey, if you want to go on a 10 to 14 play drive to end this game and just eat up all the clock, by all means, you're just not going over top. Dylan Raiola did have 308 passing yards in the air, which was great for them. But the key stat in this game to me is that Nebraska had 1.4 yards a carry. Now, a lot of that is also affected by Dylan Raiola. I think a big story in this game, at least on that side of the ball, is that Raiola got sacked. Let's see. He had 7 carries for negative 49 yards. So that hurts them. Running game, other than that, was okay. I mean, their bell cow guy had 19 carries, 65 yards, 3.4 carry. Nothing crazy. Mekhi Nelson had a couple good runs, had 3 for 19. Other than that, I mean, it was just atrocious running the ball. And on the absolute flip side, Michigan had 290 rushing yards. They averaged 9.4 yards a carry. That is insane. They basically got a first down every time they tried to run it. Just as Haynes, it felt like, I mean, there was one point where it felt like Nebraska started to have some momentum again. And then there was one point, it was right before the end of the first half. And Nebraska has a great drive, goes down, ties it up 10-10. And then Justice Haynes, 75-yard rush to the house. They ended up responding with a Hail Mary, but it late in that game, and Bryce Underwood had a 37-yard rush. Jordan Marshall had a 54-yard rush. I mean, they were able to run the ball, able to lean on Nebraska consistently, and I didn't think they'd be able to do that. I mean, they really didn't need Bryce Underwood to do a ton through the air. He was 12 for 22, only 105 yards, but he didn't turn the ball over. Did what he could. They played like Florida should play, which we'll get into that Florida game later. I think it was a very impressive win by Michigan. If they're able to run the ball like that consistently and stop the run against other teams, and that's really the name of the game when it comes to football. If you look at the rushing stats alone, that normally tells a story for the game. But for Michigan here, great win. Nebraska, still the little kids table. They've lost their last 29 games against ranked opponents dating back to 2016. It's a bad day to be a Cornhusker, but Michigan rolls. They're looking like a good Big Ten team, and I'm kind of interested to see how they continue. I was kind of thinking early in the year, they kind of make me think of a more talented Iowa. They're just going to run the ball and play great defense and try to win. And when you have a dual threat quarterback, that helps a ton with that. I mean, he did some things with his legs that were really good at different points of this game to really just kind of set them up. As soon as they'd be keying on the running back, he'd pull it. It felt like they didn't do it too much, but just enough to keep the defense honest. So my throat's still a little bit itchy from this past week of being sick, but I'm mostly better at this point. But Nebraska here let me down. Michigan, great win. Continue to roll. I was correct about this game. I thought it would be more of a blowout than it was. Miami beat the Florida Gators. Now, they had 13 points in the fourth quarter. Other than that, it was close. It was 13 to 7 pretty late in that ball game, but Miami just finished pretty well. Florida's offense is atrocious. It's so bad, but their defense is so good. I mean, their defense played their hearts out, I think. I mean, this is a team that coming into this, they were 1-2. They only allowed 2 touchdowns the entire season. wasn't enough. At one point in this game, kind of second half, they finally started to do what I've been telling them to do for a while, which is just give Jaden Baugh the ball and run the ball and try not to make DJ Lagway do too much. They kind of did that in this game. I mean, he only had 12 carries, 46 yards. So it's not like he went off. But the big thing here, I mean, Florida only had 7 first downs in the entire ball game. 0 for 13 third down efficiency, 2.7 yards a pass attempt, 2.8 yards a carry on the ground. I mean, just awful. And it felt like Miami's offense was kind of stagnant at times because of that really good Florida defense. And Carson Beck was kind of having an off night, which is not typical for him. He's had probably 2 other games in his career that you look and go, okay, he is just off today. He's just inaccurate. And this was one of those games for him. He was still able to put up 160 on 17 completions, 5.3 yards an attempt. Did have 1 interception, but their ground game was what kept him in that ball game. They leaned on Florida, 46 carries for 184 yards. That's 4 yards a carry. Great job for them of just kind of not playing to lose. You could feel they were controlling the game. And it was weird because at halftime it was 13-0, but it felt like it was 28-0 or 35-0. They just felt like they were really in control of that game. But Florida's defense forcing field goals really helped them out there. And then when Florida came down, they had some momentum. They scored a touchdown at one point, and they scored 7. Now they're only down 6. Then Carson Beck throws an interception. And I feel like that was the time for them to really take over that ball game, and they just couldn't. They could not consistently move the ball. DJ Lagway has been such a disappointment. I mean, it's so sad. I mean, he only had 61 yards passing. 61 yards passing. It's just off a guy that everyone was saying was going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country, and he's not living up to it. Now, I read today that he has been seen on campus walking in a boot. So now he's continued to be banged up like he has been his entire collegiate career. It's a bad time to be a Florida Gator. Their schedule does not get easier from here. I mean, pulling it up now. Luckily for them, they have a bye week, but then they get to host Texas, and then they go at Texas A&M. Then they get to play Mississippi State, who's not looking super easy. Then Georgia, then at Kentucky, then at Ole Miss, Tennessee, Florida State. I mean, they, according to the AP poll, from the past 2 weeks through the end of the year, playing number 3, number 4, number 10, number 9, number 5, number 13, number 15, number 8. And Billy Napier is, as of right now, as I'm recording this podcast, he is still employed there. I didn't think they'd fire him quite yet because they've played 4 games. And for anyone who doesn't know, in college football, you can appear in up to 4 games. And if you don't appear in any more than that, then you can redshirt, and that year doesn't count against your eligibility. So if they fired him now, they could have a lot of guys just decide to sit out the rest of the year and then transfer somewhere, which would not be good for them. Maybe this is let's hold on for one more game, and then if we lose to Texas, he's gone. If we somehow beat Texas, then we have momentum. Maybe we'll keep him. But bad time to be a Florida Gator fan. Miami continues to look really good. I think they're probably my favorite to win the ACC right now. It's going to come down to them and FSU. Luckily for us, in a couple weeks, they play each other, so we'll find out. Miami also has a really weird structure with their schedule where they have a bye week this next week. Then they play Florida State. Then they have another bye week. And then they have to go play 7 games straight in the year. And then if they make the ACC championship game, they got to play their 8th game in a row. And that's a lot. That's a lot to be on a team. I think the final 2 games are on the road and kind of cold environments when it's November. So we'll see how Miami does the rest of the year. But I think they're the real deal. I think they're really good. Utah, Texas Tech. Boy, was I wrong on this one. Now, the final score is 34-10. It was a blowout late. But going into the fourth quarter, it was 10-3. So it was a very close ball game. It felt like at any moment, if Utah could get some offense going, that they'd be fine. The bad thing about this is that they never got an offense going. They only averaged 3.3 yards a carry. I think Dampier did okay, had a couple interceptions. I mean, they had 4 turnovers in total. The big thing here is I want to give a ton of credit to Texas Tech. They went into a hostile environment. They had 14 penalties for 122 yards, very penalized, and Utah only had 2 penalties for 10 yards. So everything's against you. If you had told me that alone, just told me, hey, Texas Tech has going to have 14 penalties for 122 yards at Utah. Man, Utah's going to win this game. No, they didn't, because they lit Utah up in the air and ran the ball great. They averaged 4.7 yards a carry. They ran it down their throat. Passing game was so good. It felt like every time a guy for them, because they had two different quarterbacks play because their starter went out with injury. No matter who was a quarterback, it felt like every time they let go of the football, it was going to be a first down. I mean, they had 311 yards total passing between the two quarterbacks, total for 8.9 yards an attempt. Like they had two turnovers as well, but they still won the turnover battle. Really good game from Texas Tech. They look super impressive. They looked good against some bad competition, so I really didn't know how to gauge them. Their defense is the real deal. Utah could not get anything going on offense all game. And for Texas Tech, their offense just looks so explosive. I mean, looking at the box score, so their starting quarterback, Morton, 12 for 19, 142 yards, 2 picks. Will Hammond came in there, true freshman quarterback, 13 of 16, 169 yards, 10.6 yards an attempt, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He had a great game. And he had 8 carries for 61 yards, 7.6 yards a carry, which 32 of that was on 1 carry, so half of that. But he did a great job as well. Was super impressed with him. No matter who's starting quarterback for them, I think Texas Tech's going to be dangerous. And after what I saw yesterday, they would be my betting favorite to win the Big 12. I don't know what they are in odds wise or projections and stuff, but there's several good Big 12 teams that I've seen that I think, they could win the conference, and Utah was one of those. But Texas Tech looks the best now from just what I've seen on tape so far. He looked really good. I was super impressed with with the team. I was super impressed with the Red Raiders, and I'm excited to see where they go the rest this year. Missouri, South Carolina. Now, as someone who lives in the state of South Carolina in Columbia, I know a lot of South Carolina fans and Clemson fans, which they are all going through a lot of hurt right now, the two of them. Really bad to be a sports fan in the state of South Carolina when it comes to college football. Decent for the NFL right now because hey, Carolina Panthers destroyed the Falcons. Falcons continually letting me down. It's what they do. But it's not an NFL podcast, so we're not going to go down that road right now. But Missouri and South Carolina, it was kind of interesting because when I was going back and watching this game, throughout most of the first half, it kind of felt like I feel like South Carolina should win this game. Now, when I went back and watched it, because I didn't watch it live, I already knew that they had lost, but it kind of felt like, how did they find a way to lose? And I'll tell you what the biggest difference is. I could read off almost any stat and show you why they lost the game. But South Carolina running the ball, which I've said about South Carolina, their offensive line is their biggest weakness. They cannot protect Sellers. They cannot run the ball. Against Missouri, they had 22 rushing attempts for -9 yards. They averaged -0.4 yards a carry. You're not going to win a lot of football games doing that. Now, Lenore Sellers did everything he could to find a way to win on only 18 completions, had 302 yards. So he was airing the ball out. He was playing really good, had a couple touchdowns early in the game that were both just beautiful. I feel like he was playing great in the first half. But again, it was all or nothing, and it was all on Lenore Sellers' shoulders. Kind of reminds me of what Cam Newton went through. It was just him carrying the whole team, but he's not quite Cam Newton, and this team is not as good as Auburn was that year. They just got to help him out because he made a lot of great plays. The biggest thing I'd say I have an issue with him is, as bad as the offensive line is, he doesn't help them out a lot, because what he does a lot of, it's like he watched a lot of Shadur Sanders tape this offseason, but when he's dropping back in the pocket, the edge players are going to crash down and kind of try to get to where the quarterback's dropping back to. And if you keep going back, that's going to be really easy for them to get to. But if you're able to step up in the pocket, then as those guys go around you, the tackles are able to push them kind of behind where you're going, so they're just missing you. But if you're just continually dropping back, you're going to get sacked, but also you're going to lose a lot more yardage when you are getting sacked. Instead of being in 2nd and 13, you're in 2nd and 19, which makes a huge difference. Now, there's one play in specifically I remember they were backed up way in their own side of the field, and there was one play, it was a 3rd down, and Lenore Sellers dropped back, and Missouri, they immediately had 3 guys right on him, sacked him for a loss. I watched the play, and I went, man, they must have sent the house. And I watched the play, they rushed 3. They had a QB spy who's kind of just playing passive, and they had 3 guys, and all 3 immediately got to the quarterback. When you have 5 guys blocking 3 and not one of you stops one of the defenders, that is just horrible. I mean, go right now, type in the South Carolina versus Missouri highlights and tell me how many South Carolina runs you see on the highlight tape. Most of them are just pretty much no gain, not even worth showing on the highlights. It was so bad. I am so mad at their South Carolina fan. I'm so mad at their offensive line. And I'm not even a South Carolina fan. I don't care if they win or lose. But my God, do they need to be better? I mean, I know a lot of South Carolina fans are probably wondering, do we fire Shane Beamer? Do we keep him around? Like, what's the light at the end of the tunnel? Dude, I don't know, because this schedule gets harder. I mean, when I was looking at the preseason, I was looking at the schedule, I was going, hey, y'all better start 5-0 because your next 7 games are all losable. And right now they're 2-2, and they go against Kentucky is their next game, so we'll see there. But even then, coming out of that first 5 games, 3-2, when you should have been 5-0, that is going to really hurt because their schedule picks up quickly, and they really have one more guaranteed win, which is Coastal Carolina towards the end of the year. And boy, is that Clemson South Carolina game going to be ugly at the end of the year. I really hope both teams are like 5-6. Winner goes to a bowl game. Man, that'd be electric. Maybe I can, if they keep losing, those tickets are going to be pretty cheap. So if that happens, I would, because it's in Columbia this year, I would love to go to it. So if y'all could both just keep losing, that'd be great. But I will talk about Missouri in this because I've talked to him about all, and I tried to talk about the winners first. I did not do that here. Bubula is a dog. He is a dude. He did a ton of great things. I liked how he used his legs in a couple different ways. Anytime the pass rush was getting to him, one, he stepped up in the pocket consistently. If you watch the highlights of this, it felt like every time Sellers got sacked, it's because he dropped back 20 yards. And it felt like every time because they have great defensive ends for South Carolina. Every time they try to crash down, try to get a speed rush, beat him around the edge, Bubula would just run up in the pocket and would either step up and deliver a strike, or he'd just run up the field and get a 15, 20-yard run. I mean, let's see what his stats were exactly, because I had it written down. Yeah, just him alone, he has 9 carries for 72 yards, but just did a ton of just staying on time. And when he would get off time, he'd roll out of the pocket or buy himself time, and he would deliver a strike. Only had 171 yards, but he played great. Ahmad Hardy, dude, what did I tell y'all last week? I said that man is a dog. He's amazing. He had 22 carries, 138 yards, averaged 6.3 yards a carry. And even Jamal Roberts, 13 carries, 76 yards, at average 5.8. I mean, as a team, they averaged 5.9 yards a carry. I mean, both of them were great. There were so many times where it'd be up to one of the running backs from Missouri and a DB for South Carolina, and they would just not bring them down. I mean, the tackling just looked so lazy and horrible. And I mean, Missouri is a good football team, and South Carolina is an offensive line and slightly better DBs from being a really good team too. But you can't be competitive in the SEC without an offensive line. And until I see them fix that, we'll see. I mean, but that's not something you just fix. That's something they're going to have to deal with. So they're going to have to be really creative this year in their screen game and quick game, because they're going to need to get the ball out of Sellers' hands fast. And screen game is kind of an extension of the run game, and they can't traditionally run it right now. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in South Carolina this year, especially with the schedule. It's some dark times. I don't think Beamer's going to get fired or anything. I mean, they just extended him this past offseason, which that's what you should do. You have a pretty good year. You barely missed the playoffs. Get a contract extension through 2030. Now you're locked in. I don't see South Carolina firing him yet. It could be a thing where maybe he starts next year kind of on the hot seat, but it's a lot of buyout money, and I don't think that South Carolina is the type of program that can just pay that. And Missouri's living way above my expectations right now. So I picked this game correctly. It was closer than I thought, but the biggest difference was in the second half. They just controlled the game. South Carolina couldn't keep a drive alive, and they couldn't get Missouri off the field. I mean, that run game is really what helped them. And whenever they would be in a situation where the run game wouldn't work and they needed to convert a 3rd and long, Bubula executed time after time, whether it was with his legs or in the air. So I was very impressed by Missouri, and they're going to hurt some people's feelings this season because they have some teams they play this year that when they were looking at their schedule, they saw Missouri, they said, okay, well, that's a win, and they're not going to go down swinging because if you can have a good defense, you can have a good run game, and a quarterback that can avoid sacks, stay on time, use his legs, make good throws on the run, I mean, any game is winnable, really. So Missouri is a team to watch out for this year. Boy, was I wrong. This is just half the games tonight. Man, so sometimes you're wrong and it's a close game and you think, hey, really could have gone either way. I picked Illinois to beat Indiana. The final score was 63-10. And the only reason why Indiana only had 63 points is because they didn't want to score anymore, because they were tired of scoring. I mean, I don't even know where to start. I'll start with their defense. Indiana's defense did so much to give Illinois a difficult time. I mean, listen to this stat alone. Illinois had 20 rushing attempts for 2 yards, 0.1 yards a carry. On the opposite, Indiana had 112 yards rushing, 6.4 yards average. I mean, they passed the ball great. Fernando Mendoza, 21 of 23, 267 yards, 11.6 an attempt, had 5 touchdown passes, and it just felt so easy. It felt effortless watching them play football. Everything seemed to be working. Sometimes it'd be in a 3rd and long. They'd call a screen pass and their guys just fought. There were so many times where a guy would get hit for a 2 or 3 yard gain, but then you're like, oh, never mind, he didn't get tackled. He'd run for 15 yards. But Indiana just played with their hair on fire. Illinois looked flat. They could not protect Altmaier to save their life. Constantly he was getting sacked, and it wasn't so much like Sellers, like he was just dropping back way too deep. I mean, I feel like every time he'd drop back and try to read a defense, he'd have a tackle right next to him and just running into him, getting tackled. So it was just hard to watch. They had no offense, could not run the ball at all. 16 of 25 for Altmaier for 159 yards. It's just was not good. Also had an interception, but Indiana just both sides of the ball played great. They had a blocked punt to start the game, still some momentum. Illinois goes down and they score based off busted coverage, and then from there it was just all Indiana the rest of the game. I'm actually curious. I didn't look at this stat beforehand, but now while I'm talking about it, I need to see if I can find it. I want to know how many times they punted this game. I think they only punted once. Let's see. Defense, interceptions, kicking, punting. Okay, they had 2 punts. They had 2 punts this game. Indiana did. Other than that, they just ran the daggone ball, could not get off the field. I mean, Illinois just looked so bad. I mean, this is the drive chart for Indiana in this football game. Punt, touchdown, punt, touchdown, 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 and then they kneed out the clock to end the game. That is absurd. Indiana, they just destroyed Illinois. Illinois fell down, and it was like whenever someone thinks they're a bully and they act like a bully, and then they pick on a kid that they should not pick on. And that kid their whole life has been told by their parents, don't ever start a fight. But if you ever get in a fight, you better end it. And you better just keep wailing on them until someone pulls you off. And this is exactly what happened. I mean, I believe it was 35-10 at half. And it could have been so much worse. I mean, the whole second half, they were just running the ball. Indiana didn't care. And they just couldn't help but keep scoring. I mean, so embarrassing. Illinois, I thought, was already kind of too highly ranked to be number 9. I didn't think they were that good. But I thought they'd be able to squeak out this win. Indiana's for real this year, I believe. And now, I mean, their schedule's very manageable. They have a couple tough opponents in that schedule. But after this performance, now I'm thinking they could beat any of those big teams on their schedule. I mean, looking at their schedule now. So after this, they got Iowa. It's at Iowa, at Oregon. They have Michigan State, UCLA, at Maryland, at Penn State, Wisconsin, at Purdue. So, I mean, I think they should win every game except Oregon and Penn State. Both of those are on the road, which hurts them. But I don't know. I mean, I could see them beating Penn State. I think Oregon's probably the best team in the country, probably top 3. They've looked so impressive this year. So I don't want to say that. But Indiana very much could be Penn State from what I've seen. Their offense is that explosive. And Penn State's not. They're just still Penn State from what I've seen. So was not very impressed from what I've seen for Penn State so far. But Indiana, huge win proved me wrong. That's on me. That's on me. So I didn't have this part of my show sheets because I was just going off the games that I talked about last week, but this was too big of a storyline for me to not talk about. So I'm going to talk about this. The Clemson Tigers. Oof, this was a bad game. So I didn't watch the second half of this game. I only watched the first half, and then they had like a 2+ hour rain delay, and I just kind of kept up with my phone from there. Stephen Jelly did get hurt, unfortunately. Before he got hurt, though, he was balling, had 244 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, this felt like a game that was really close to just exploding and getting much better, or much more of a big win. But Syracuse, they ran the ball well, averaged 4.2 yards a carry. I feel like especially really well in that first half. The offense was just clicking. Clemson still cannot get anything going on offense. Now, in the second half, they did a little bit more so, but a lot of that's just kind of climbing back. I mean, Cade Klubnik had 60 passing attempts, which is never what you want to do. And what's weird is they averaged 6.4 yards a carry on the ground. I mean, Adam Randall averaged 8.1, but they just didn't really feed him. I feel like they may have been trying to dig themselves out of a hole too early before it was really over yet. But I mean, Syracuse came out, they dominated pretty quickly, pretty early. I mean, it was 24-7 pretty quick. Ended up being 24 to 14 at halftime. And third quarter rolls around, they score 10 more. Clemson ends up getting a touchdown late in the game to make it look a little bit better. Instead of 34-14, it's 34-21. But I'm glad I didn't pick this game because I probably would have picked Clemson. I mean, I had Syracuse covering the 17.5-point spread, but not like this. I mean, I didn't expect them to win like that. Okay, it's still good. Sorry, my screen went away for a second. I thought it stopped streaming. I was about to be very upset. But for Clemson, 1-3, it is the first time since 2004 they've had such a bad start. And, I mean, I don't know what to think of them. I mean, Dabo Swinney has been so embarrassing. I don't know whoever didn't see this last week. Last week he had a press conference before this game, mind you. This is after they lost Georgia Tech. I believe it was Monday or Tuesday. And I don't remember if I spoke on this in my podcast or not. I think I did, about how he just embarrassed himself. Talked about how Clemson is, still going to be good, and how, he's, if they're tired of winning, they should just fire me because I'm a great coach and all this stuff. And anyway, they got to play at North Carolina. North Carolina sucks. They really should win that game. They should win at Boston College. They could lose to SMU. They could lose to Duke. They'll lose to FSU. I'll call that now. They'll probably lose to Louisville. They should beat Furman. And then they end the year in Columbia, South Carolina, and that's going to be an ugly game. But, I mean, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potential losses. I don't think they'll be 4-8. I don't think it'll be that bad. But, man, it's insane to me how wrong I wasn't going for Clemson going into this year, because they weren't my favorite to win the national championship, but I thought this is a one-team league. I thought for sure they're going to win the conference, they're going to make the playoff, and they'll be one of those teams that makes the playoff. Not quite, but hey, they won the ACC. Similar year to last year's what I was expecting, and they have just been so disappointing. Losing to LSU wasn't that big of a deal. You struggle against Troy. You lose at Georgia Tech. Now you get embarrassed at home against Syracuse. I mean, what's the upside? If you're a Clemson Tiger fan, the only thing you're holding on to right now is that South Carolina is also losing. That's the only thing I'm seeing Clemson fans talk about. Both those fan bases are miserable right now. Both had super high expectations about their individual teams coming into the year. And now the only reason why they're happy is just, or any happiness at all, is just because the other team is also bad. The beautiful thing about college football is when your team is down, if your rival is down worse or just as down bad, then you sleep okay at night. But I have no idea what to think about Clemson going forward. It should be a manageable schedule. I mean, they have one ranked opponent on their schedule for the remainder of the year, which is Florida State. But, I mean, they could lose to Duke, SMU, Louisville, South Carolina as well. So I don't really know what to believe in them. I don't know what the program looks like now. What I'm curious about is this going to be a similar situation to how 2024 FSU looked, how they just started playing more flat and flat every single week. They just didn't have any fire, passion, or energy. That's what I'm going to be holding on to look at for Clemson the remainder of the year. But huge win for Fran Brown and Syracuse. Had a rough start of the year. Lost pretty bad to Tennessee. Didn't look good against UConn. Just, Syracuse kind of just disappeared on us. And they came back in a big way. I hate that Steve Angeli is out the remainder of the year with the torn Achilles. Going into last week, he was the leader in all of college football when it came to passing yards. He was really airing it out. But we'll see. We'll see how they continue to pan out. But Battle of the Orange, Clemson did lose. And, man, I'll tell you this. I'm going to listen to every single Dabo Swinney press conference I can the remainder of the year. Really, Shane Beamer, too. Those are two guys that are really fun to watch when they're losing. And both these teams are losing. So I will be pay attention to a lot of post-game conferences in this in this state for the remainder of the season. But anyway, well, I will conclude it there, everyone. Thank you for sticking around, listening to my week 4 recap of this college football season. Really funny weekend. It's not even going to come close to what this next weekend is going to be. I think next week is going to be the biggest week in all of college football for this season. There are so many big games. I talked about it a little bit last episode. I'm talking to you about it now. We're going to save that for the next pod, so I'm just giving you a little taste right now. But very excited to break down all those games, take a look at them, see if we can tag someone along to talk talk with me about them. We'll see, though. I mean, we will keep pushing through, and super excited about that. Next week is going to be so good. I'm cautiously optimistic about the Georgia-Alabama game. I think we should win, but I've thought that before and been dead wrong. So I'm 100% terrified as a Georgia fan because we just never can play good against Alabama. But I'll save all that for my preview whenever we go into that for next week. But be on the lookout, probably Thursday or Friday is whenever I'll drop the podcast for my preview for week 5. So be on the lookout for that. And couple countdowns for y'all. So one, would like to remind anyone who's watching that it has been 1,780 days since Florida has beaten Georgia in football. So want to put that out there. Also, we have 39 days until Jacksonville. Y'all have a good one. God bless.